Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of In the Pit with Lobo Tigre. Our victim of the day is Mike Stark. He's the CEO of Arizona Silver Exploration. Now, I've known Mike for some years, and he's pitched me on his company before, and I'm always looking for a good silver play. So I have questions, but Mike, why don't you go ahead and give us the overview? What are you working on? And we'll get into questions from there.
Thank you very much, Lobo. Thanks for the opportunity to be here, first of all. Arizona Silver Exploration is a very early stage company. We are now just over 2 years out of the blocks, and we initiated with a Ramsey project, which is a strictly silver play at this time. We have 18 holes into that project. All have come back with successful grades of silver, ranging from 1 to 5 ounces. During the time that we were a little slow with the price of silver, and it wasn't the forefront, we went looking for an additional project to bring more depth, more value to Arizona Silver Exploration. And that's when we came across this project called Sycamore Canyon. Now, unlike any other project in Nevada or Arizona, it never has had a hole drilled in it. There's been some exploration pits, which is what drew Greg's interest to this area, and the fact that he needed to stake the property as a friend, he did. Upon doing that, he finds this major breccia outcrop at the surface, and we've now done 42 samples on that property, and all have come back on very high-grade gold and silver. A couple points to mention, which is on our website, up to 31 grams gold and up to 560 grams silver, 810 meters long, 110 meters wide at this point. So very prolific, very interesting. We're waiting on our final permit on that project. Because of the time frame and the length of delay, we'll use that word carefully, but it's a process that you have to go through. We then found an opportunity, again, thanks to Greg, working in the early 80s in we'll call it the west section of Arizona, in the Oatman district, a very prolific district right now, very much being paid attention to because of the fact that it's delivered over 2.2 million ounces, and it is the gold district of Arizona. We came across Philadelphia. It became available, and Greg didn't hesitate. We jumped on it immediately. We, as you know, maybe it's just initiated the first 6 holes earlier this year. We have confirmation, which I'm delighted to say. Our expectation was to see that the vein continued, and it does. We have had that hit. The hit was over 15.82 grams gold and a little over 90 grams silver. We are currently drilling that property as we speak right now for the next set of holes, which were permitted at up to 24 holes.
Okay, well, that's an excellent summary, and it answers one of the first questions: is Arizona Silver, why are you picking up these other things? And if Ramsey was any good, why go somewhere else? I mean, you don't want to be a one-trick pony, but it makes sense.
Right.
I get the rationale. But let's go ahead and start with Ramsey. When I
Sure.
first met you and you first pitched me on your company, you had this wonderful chart which showed the past-producing high-grade mine and an offset across a fault. And it really looked like the cookie had been broken in half, and it was the obvious place to go look for more. It made sense. And I hesitated because it's geophysics, and it looked like the right place to look, but who knows, right? And now we have plenty of water under the bridge. You did, as you say, hit, but you didn't hit the grades that were in the old Ramsey mine. So what have you found? What is the outlook there? Is it really the offset, or is it something else? Why are the grade tenors different? What's going on with Ramsey?
Well, first of all, Mother Nature never delivers what you expect, and you always have to drill in order to find out what she's going to give you. So you're right. The expectations were high on that offset that we would find equivalent grades of 1 to 5 ounces, and it turned out we did not. However, the slip and the side that we are on, and we're continuing on course now, is towards the creosote vein, which we have proven results of 877 grams. Now that, along with our theory, that, and if I may use my hands a bit,
Sure.
We've noticed there's faults, and there's 3 faults within this scope. It's a slide on our presentation as well. If our theory's right, the top of the second fault is where the creosote vein resides, and if it's right, then that's where the fluids came up, much like the fluids did on the original Ramsey vein, which has a 924 gram per ton average for over 300 feet thick, 300 feet in depth. So what we have noticed that every time we get down to the bottom when the rock bed forms, there's a high grade silver content. We believe it's followed up the hard rock bed and come up through these faults. It's illustrated on a slide on our website. I encourage people to see that. This is our next step. We will be stepping out a major distance towards the creosote vein is. We're permitted, we're ready to go. We're waiting for the temperature to drop, as which it is now. We can put the holes into there. If we confirm that, it validates Greg's theory that the fluids have come up on these faults where the world, when it was developing, moved apart, allowed the fluids up. It makes sense. We have to prove that, though. That's the step.
Okay, so, and if it comes up these faults, is there a favorable host rock that it hits at some point, or how do we build tonnage? Or is it just the faults opened up and there was rock prep there? Or again, how do we build tonnage?
And that's a very valid question. That's where the high grade is associated. We are not disappointed with the, we'll call it low grade, but I have to be careful. When I say low grade at 4 3/4 ounces, that's not bad. But we have sections of over 300 feet thick of that. And it's around the halo, around the high grade. So in another slide, you'll see 10-ounce material around the original high-grade vein. Well, it made no doubt, back in the early days, these guys weren't after 10 ounces. They were after 924, 14-ounce, 30-ounce material. It makes perfect sense. You'll see in the pictures that it's been left behind, so it's still there.
All right, and that will be drilled this year?
We intend to drill that this year, yes. We are actually hoping to drill a lot more. We are currently in a financial raise at this point, and that will determine the extent of our drilling this year. Yes.
Right. Okay, we'll come back to that. But the point is, on this one, you don't need any permits or anything. It's just as soon as you have the cash, you're ready to go.
Ready to go.
Okay, very good. All right. Then the other one you have drilled, Philadelphia. Let's talk about that. Okay, you found that the vein does continue, but it's. I looked at the section provided, and by the way, I'll put a link to your presentation so people can see what we're talking about. I know that if you tie a geologist's hands, he's mute, right? He needs to show you what he's talking about. So we'll provide that link. But I looked at the section, and I didn't see what looks like high grade underground gold here or bulk tonnage open pit gold there. It was kind of in between. So how does that work, and what's the target there? What do you hope to achieve?
Well, again, what we've described as we would like to take and make sure our treasury stays intact. So we're exploring low dimensions of it. Historically, it goes down to 700 feet. We do have records of gold being stoped mined down at 500 foot levels. We're basically about, anywhere from 30 to 100, 175 feet, down, and we're hitting this one section. We believe there's more to it, but again, we have to drill it to prove it. However, we believe if we step out where we are now and we hit it again and the results are higher, then that might be the point where we step down and go down to 200 to 300 feet and do an exploratory hole. We know that the vein continues, so that theory is proven. Now, the depth of it historically shows all the way down to 500 feet. There's intervals, it's on our slides, 100, 200, literally 340, and then I believe it's 510 or something, where these stopes step out and they've mined very high-grade veins. The veins are ranging anywhere from 10 to 27 grams, and we do have points where there's over 2 ounces as well. Those are historical. Obviously, we hope to find those kind of veins ourselves.
Sure. Okay, so what I'm getting here is, given limited budget, you did some relatively shallow drilling as proof of concept because it was cheaper.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely correct.
Fair enough. Nothing wrong with that, especially given where the markets have been over the last years, have to be careful with your resources. Okay, exactly. and this one is also permitted and funding pending. You're ready to go with the next phase of drilling.
We promised our shareholders that we would commence the drilling. We have. The drilling is actually ongoing right now.
Okay. All right.
We are permitted for 24 holes. And relying on additional funding come in, we will complete that project at the earliest stage we can, obviously. And it is hinging on funding, yes. But we are in a good position right now with our account, but we do not obviously want to take any risks with it as well.
Okay. And on the third, can't have 3 flagships, but the third major project you have, it's all surface work so far. All these high-grade samples that you're talking about, these are just grab samples, chip samples. Are there any consistent trenches across structures or anything, or is it just walking around a surface? Talk us through where you're at there.
No, good points. We've taken 42, and there is small core samples as well. We did that on a handheld core machine. Greg did that with the assistance of another geologist at the time. They're approximately 9 to 12 inches in core length, substantially proving some of the geology of it. We have those pictures on our website as well. 42 samples have been taken, both trench, core, and a little bit of rock sampling. We just, pick up grab samples, we'll say. And there's two sections to it, Lobo. We have a section at the top, which has been, the lower grade, and then as you go down lower, approximately about 180-foot drop, they get into more high-grade sampling there. So the breccia shows up for the entire section. That's on our website as well. And our theory is obviously it's richer down below because it took more to push it to the top. That's going to be proven on our first opportunity to drill. We're looking for 3 holes on this property, and the drill pad is actually indicated on the website where we intend to drill, along with where the open breccia has been exposed.
All right, let me make sure I'm clear on this. What you're saying is you have this breccia pipe or whatever it is, and the topo is actually exposing it at different elevations. Is that
That's
correct? So what's higher topographically is higher in the system as well, and you've been able to see on the surface something lower down. Is that right?
I would go with that as yes. That's a great explanation. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's all illustrated by VLF on our slide presentation and our PowerPoint. And Greg has done a great job of indicating where the grades are, and then off to the right-hand side, you can see the actual grades. They're symbols, so a yellow symbol indicates 1 gram, blue symbol might indicate 5 grams. It's all on the site, though. Very easy to follow through.
All right, so what's taking so long here? Is it Forest Service land or what's
You got it. You got
okay.
it. Yeah.
The boys in green.
We've had some, Greg is very thorough about this. He's been involved with other companies where he's brought the projects actually to full development, mine ready. So he's well experienced in this and he knows what he's doing, but it's a process and it's not something, I hate to use the example, but it's like going across the border. You say yes or no, sir. You don't ask questions.
All right. Well, I won't hold your feet to the fire on this, but is there, what can I say, a corporate goal for when that might get permitted or any kind of time frame there?
Greg just did an interview and he was actually very forward about it and said that we hope to have those before the end of the year. So that's what I'm looking forward to as well.
Okie doke. And when you have those, then you already have your first hole sited. So having the permits, having the money, you'd be ready to go?
All 3 holes are ready to go.
All right. And all 3 of these projects, are any of them at elevation or all of them such that Arizona being the snowbird state that it is, you could work year round?
That's a very good point. One of the reasons we went after Sycamore is it's over 6,000 foot level. So we can drill that one year round. And unfortunately, which we've discussed many times, people want to see drilling done as all year round. But in Ramsey, at 125 degrees, I am not risking personnel or myself to be down there, thank you, at those temperatures. And we found out, obviously, Philadelphia can be very warm this year as well. And we missed, wrong wording, but we did not drill during August simply because of the heat. It was 127 degrees. It's an incredibly hot state, no question about it.
So the opposite of the problem in the Great White North.
Yeah, it's raining here today, by the way, and at a cool 17 degrees.
Very good. All right. Okay, so that makes sense. I have an idea for your projects, but the money keeps coming up. I looked on your financial statements, and CEDAR, as of last filing, you had not 4.2 million or 400, but you had 42K in the bank, and you're spending about 30 a month.
Nope. Actually, I'm going to back that one up. We're it's publicly stated we're less than 18.5 a month because of some provisions that we took. We actually got rid of a lot of overhead that we didn't need, and one of the ones was the office space. It wasn't required as much as I had, so now I have a cubicle downtown, and I share that with another company, excuse me. And no, I'm delighted with where we're at. We're very, very lean.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'd like to see the money going in the ground. I wasn't trying to beat up on your office space there, but the question is really, you're looking to raise $700,000, as I saw in the press release. That's not a lot of money, especially for 3 projects potentially. Or is the idea to go after the lowest hanging fruit on one first and then raise more money, or how do you go forward? You've got a lot of interesting work on your plate and limited wherewithal right now.
And very valid. And I think a lot of this has been a push on my own behalf. We've done very well during the lean times when there was no money available. We've actually raised capital internally and had some friends and family participate. Matter of fact, I'm proud to say about 61% of this stock is held by family, friends, and close associates. So there's a very tight float there. But more importantly, we all have some big expectations of this. We think we have very good properties. And you're right. I mean, we were very limited in what we took as funding because we needed to do just certain amounts. I know several companies that have not done anything in 2 years because they're hanging on. We've got to provide some success to our shareholders to show commitment to them, and we have done that. More importantly now, with this Philadelphia project, with drilling, and if we were to be successful, which we will wait to see, it's not very far off, I believe that if we're successful, we'll get more and more attention as we grow. We do have 2 operating mines within a very close distance, less than 10 miles, that both are looking for additional resources right now. That's just one caveat. There's other people out there that need to add resources to their current programs and companies.
Okay, I get that. But I'm sorry, I'm not sure I heard clearly the answer to my question. The 700K you're raising, does that
Yes.
all go into Philadelphia and then from there you bootstrap up? Or is the plan to divide that with Philadelphia and Ramsey and then see what happens? Or what are we doing with this money?
Okay, good point. Let me maybe put it to you this way. If we continue to hit on Philadelphia, I will continue to drill. At some point, we've got to take a break, analyze what we've done. And that point, I do hope we can maybe either go to Ramsey or better yet, we can go over to Sycamore. And those funds would be utilized over there then. The 700K is a small amount, I realize that, but the model that we're trying to keep is a tight structure. We're only 34 million shares out, no warrants. Therefore, our investment community that's involved with us now have the best chance to see a very significant rise in stock price.
No warrants.
No.
I didn't. And this financing you're doing now, no warrants also?
It's the first time I've offered it as a half warrant this time. And you're right, Lobo. I'm very proud of that fact that we do not have warrants. I have a very negative attitude towards a warrant. It's an overhang that will prevent you from moving forward. That's my explanation on it. And I understand in the market that you have to give a little bit. So this is what I've offered this time. It's been met with some well-received people at this time as well. So it's the first time, and the warrant is priced at 27 cents. It has an accelerated clause in it, which means if it trades at 35 for more than 10 consecutive days, I have the right to call for those funds.
Well, if you can raise money on those terms, more power to you. That's certainly in the best interest of your existing shareholders. I get that. You know, from my side, I would apply Rick Rule's rule, right? You know, full warrant 2 years would be more interesting to me. But if you can raise the money on those terms, that's fantastic. It says something about your shareholders and their belief in your projects at any rate. So that's quite interesting. And fair to assume, friends and insiders and yourselves, you're taking part in the financing as well?
As we have each and every time, insiders have and will be taking part in this one as well. That's correct.
You're kind of taking the thunder out of my big question. I always like to ask towards the end of these interviews, how much skin do you have in the game? You've already said, intimated that you have quite a bit. Is there a cash figure you'd care to share? How much of your own money have you actually put into this?
Actually, it's only been my own money that I put into this, and as the same as Greg. But the numbers are, I carefully want to say this. I'm approximately 1.7 million shares into this company now, and Greg has a little over 2.7. That number will increase with this next financing as well. Greg and I are currently number 1 and number 3 in the shareholders of this company.
So your interests are certainly aligned. And if you've got your friends and family, you certainly don't want to disappoint them either. So I like to hear that. All right, well, it sounds very good. I wish you luck with that. I've got one final question here.
Sure.
With Philadelphia, you start out with the silver at Ramsey, and now we're branching into gold. Are you going to need to change your company name?
I will say this, it's being discussed. Yes, it's being discussed.
Well, let's see what the Truth Machine turns up before you do that.
Okay, I look forward to talking with you again. Thank you ever so much for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Good luck.
Thank you.